What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with one of the biggest phenomena in bodybuilding right now. The Texas Pro champion Andrew Jacked, who talks about his expectations for this upcoming Miss Olympia. Now Andrew is a guy who never makes big claims about where he is gonna place, but a top 5 finish is what he's aiming for, same as last year. But his coach Chris Aceto said that Andrew can win the whole damn thing this year. So Nick Walker said the same thing, that if Andrew's conditioning from the back, it matches his front, then he's gonna be fighting for Miss Olympia title this year.
Able to crack that top 5 again. Possibly in a much higher number, we'll see.
So we are now roughly 40 days out of this year's big show, and Andrew is still training in Dubai all by himself. So only a few more weeks till he flies out to the US to join Chris Lewis aka Psycho Fitness, and he is gonna finish his prep there, hopefully on a very high note. So it is gonna be interesting to see how some of these short guys, like Nick, like Derek, like Hadi Chopin, how they compare to a guy like Andrew Jacked, who is 6'2", and he has some of the best front shots in this year's Miss Olympia lineup. And I have to say his back also improved massively from last year to this year. And even if you look at his training videos, the back is the thing that is prioritized the most. So the judges were so impressed with Andrew at Texas Pro this year. But there is also an argument that you are only as good as the guy you stand next to. So we will see how Andrew compares with the likes of Hadi Chopin and Derek, who have an insane level of conditioning, and all the other top guys. Next up is the update of Keone Pearson. So Keone doing all the things that he can to take his back to a whole new level this year. So Keone started his Olympia prep at 18 weeks out of this year's big show. And I'm sure all of you guys remember how lean he was able to stay throughout this offseason. Even at the peak of his offseason, he was looking so damn lean. And now we are at 6 weeks out, and you can see some of his conditioning from that tank top. So only his severe conditioning and shape and his aesthetics, that isn't what making Keone so confident going into this title defense. The world already knows that no one is gonna touch Keone in that aesthetics department. When it comes to shape and flow, the man is just on a whole different level. And just listen to this.
This year is a whole nother story. I'm approaching 30 and things are just different. The skin texture, the muscle quality, the muscle pop, everything. So long story short, none of this shit came easy, you guys.
So Keone is now in his 30s, so the muscle maturity has also started to kick in. And that is where Keone was lacking compared to his competition, especially guys like Sean Carrita and Angel Calderon, who are way older than Keone and who have that all-man muscle quality. So it seems like Keone is gonna close on that gap as well. Now I'm not saying that he will have that same hard grainy look like Sean, but fact of the matter is, he doesn't need to bring that kind of look to repeat this year. So Keone has been pushed extremely hard by his coach Patrick Tour during the most days of the week at this point of his prep, because he needs to dig deep in order to surpass his 2023 level of conditioning. So Keone with this kind of mindset, that is game over for everyone already. And we pretty much knew that if this guy puts it all together, he is gonna be next to impossible to beat. And his mindset is stronger than ever this year. Marc Hector's physique update is next. So Marc had very difficult last couple of years in terms of his career. He had an injury back in 2022, and that led him to end his season earlier than what he had planned. And this year he suffered from a shoulder injury, so that was another bump in his way. So considering that he had this shoulder surgery back in May, the man has bounced back very fast because his recent pictures look very impressive. Now we have definitely seen him bigger and more rounder in the past, especially his run in 2022 when he did the Arnold UK and 2 other shows. Now his best showing was the show in France, where him and Patrick Johnson were neck and neck. I mean, there was only a difference of 1 point between these guys at France. Now if Marc is able to put on some size on his quads, and if he can bring up his back, he is gonna be a true force in the men's open class. Even if we look at some of his other recent updates, his shoulder to waist ratio is so unbelievably good. His delts, his chest and his arms, they are his strongest suits. So Marc has trained under the guidance of Abdullah, although they aren't working together anymore. So I'm excited to see how this cut goes for Marc. And we might be able to see him back on the stage sometime next year. So how do you guys rate his genetics? Will we see him on the Olympia stage in 2025? Next up, we have the 6 weeks out physique update of the Weight Pro champion and one of the most decorated bodybuilders in plus the physique division, and the only guy who's gonna make a record 9th consecutive appearance at this year's Classic Physique Olympia stage. I am talking about none other than Brion Ansley, who just won the biggest check in Classic Physique of $60,000 just a few weeks ago. So how does this guy keep on improving even at the age of 44? That is truly unthinkable. So Chris Cormier, his trainer, he attests that Brion's success that is directly related to his work ethic. I mean, just take a look at Brion's physique from his first ever Miss Olympia back in 2016. That physique won't even make top 10. In the current era, that physique might not even qualify for the Olympia. But the way Brion has evolved so much from one year to the next, that is truly admirable. So the increase in the classic physique weight limits, that certainly helped him a lot in bringing a much more muscular and a much more fuller package. Especially in all the 3 shows that he did this year, 2 Arnolds and 1 Dubai Pro. And I have to say, and I'm sure all of you guys will agree with this, he looked absolutely phenomenal in all 3 of these shows. This was his best ever. So Brion isn't an Olympia title contender anymore. We all know that if he beats Orskrashinsky and lands in the top 4 again, that will be such a huge accomplishment for him. But I have to say that isn't gonna be easy. Next up is the off-season physique update of Hassan Mostafa, a guy who should have been on the Olympia stage this year. And he would have been if he only brought the conditioning in Toronto as well as in Chicago Pro. I mean, there is so much muscle on this guy's frame, but unlucky for him that it is extremely hard for him to get truly shredded. Now, if Hassan looked as good in Toronto this year as he looked in 2023 in that same show, he would have been fighting for the Olympia qualification with Akeem Williams. But the thing is, he was even unable to make top 5 at that show. And that was like one of his worst looks ever. So Chicago Pro was even a bigger disappointment for Hassan because he placed 8th in that show and he decided to end the season right there. And I have to say, Hassan needs to find one coach and stick with him. I do believe Chad Nichols did a great job with him throughout 2023, and AJ Sims was the only one who was able to get him truly peeled in 2022. So I have no idea who he is gonna work with next. But let's just hope that 2025 brings the best of Hassan. We all know he is one of the most muscular guy in the men's open right now. And even though he doesn't have the best shape, he still has won multiple shows in the last 2 years. Next up, we have another 6 weeks out physique update of Jon the Dark, that 2024 Tampa Pro champion. So he has been using the post-show phase very smartly. So at this pace, he can come to this year's Miss Olympia a little bigger than Tampa Pro, but still in a superb conditioning, the kind of conditioning that he's known for. So when we talk about these Olympia predictions, we assume that all these guys, they are gonna bring their all-time best. When in fact, that actually rarely happens. So why Jon can be such a dangerous guy for the top 10 at this year's big show? That is because of his consistency with the conditioning that he brings every time he steps on stage, especially ever since he started working with Patrick Tour, especially ever since last year. Every show that he has done, he looks so much improved. And he is 100% confident that the Olympia is gonna be no different, and he is gonna be even better than what we saw at this year's Tampa. So the 2 weak shots that Jon has, the front double biceps and the front lat spread, he is actually very comparable in those shots as well against some of the guys who are gonna be in the second call out. Plus the fact that he's super thick from the side, and that back is also one of the best out there, very complete and very dense. So can Jon be a dark horse to finish in this year's Olympia top 10? Is he being counted out? Do let me know in the comments below. And also hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.